0.24 tier list. Just so you guys know, I'll just show you guys what got nerfed and buffed, right? But if you want to know which champs are OP, I'll be telling you, and when they're OP, you know? So basically, Graves got nerfed, Elise got nerfed, and Talon got nerfed, and Ambessa got nerfed. Ambessa is considered a journal as well, okay? But let's go to like Ambessa. This champ I put it on A tier, but it's like fine nerf. This champ will still be strong, but I wouldn't recommend in low elo as much. Graves nerf, the only thing you need to know is that if you have 200 AD, it's 40 damage less, right? Because they nerfed 20% of the damage, okay? It is only for the secondary one, which is, you know, completely fine. This isn't that big of a deal. Because the champ is still pretty good. It doesn't matter. Elise lost 30 base HP. This doesn't change the matchups. She still beats everyone. She still one-shots people. So it doesn't matter, you know. Talon, clearly got a bit nerfed. Lost a bit of MR. Kind of whatever, you know. It doesn't matter that much, okay? These are the champs that got nerfed. The champs that got buffed are Master Yi, and I guess Poppy and Warwick got adjusted. Actually, Warwick is quite interesting, right? But we can look at the Master Yi change. Master Yi got like some crit, so Scenarios is back in business. But basically, I'm not sure how good IE is though, I'll be honest. I think this buff doesn't do that much because I don't see Master Yi like being that useful. The moment he has IE, the game is probably already, you know, either won or lost. And Poppy basically lost some base armor and some base Q damage. But it still is a very good champion if you play against a lot of dashes, right? But the interesting one's Warwick, because for some reason the win rate of this champion is pretty interesting. So you can look at jungle and we can check at win rates. So for some reason, Warwick win rate is pretty inflated. I actually played it one game as well. It looked pretty strong. So maybe it's here to stay, but I'm not completely sure. I think Warwick is strong, but I'm not sure how OP it is. I played it one game. I put it actually on A tier, but I might have missed it. Like maybe like I need to play more games to see how strong it actually is. But yeah. And basically, beside that, there's like one more change. I think that's all pretty much, right? So yeah, that's pretty much all. So this material list, and I'll explain you guys why. So okay, first of all, I think Skarner is just OP. He built HP, can one-shot you, very OP champion. And especially in lower elos, if your team is going enchanters, Skarner is very strong. But you need to at least know how to play him a little bit, right? Which isn't too difficult. But I would say Skarn is probably the most OP champion, I would say. After that, I put Elise, Viego, Kartus on S tier. But I put them S tier only if their drops are aligned. Like, I wouldn't pick Elise with, let's say, I don't know, a Nami support and on Victor mid lane. There's like triple AP, Merc's value. I would never do that, right? So for Elise, ideally, I would want to see like a Yo, Nautilus, you know. And honestly, even on the list, if let's say I have like a Janna for some reason, and I have, let's say, I don't know, let's say an Ezreal, as long as they're winning lane, I can still work with this, you know? Because if they pressure lane, I can potentially dive. So range support, I can actually still play with it. It's not optimal, but it's still fine, you know what I mean? Then, only then I would put at least S tier, right? Let's say I have like Ari mid lane and, you know, this draft. Then I have my concerns. I would probably not want to pick Elise. Then Elise becomes an A tier champion, right? So you do need to understand a bit about draft. And same for Viego. With Viego, ideally, you want to have like a setup champs. Syndra, Ari, and Leona, ideally. But especially in lower elos, what you're gonna get, okay, I can show you like support role in gold elo, most played. Trash, Lux, Lulu. Null is in 4. But what I'm trying to say is that Viego with like Lux and Lulu, or Karma or Morgana is just not it. Or Yumi, not it. You go to like Platinum Elo, you see the same things. You don't want to pick Viego with these champions. With like Lux, Lulu, Karma, you want to pick Wukong, something a bit more beefy. But I would say that Viego is S tier if you have a draft like this, right? It's like Omega OP then, because you get the reset, and good luck to the enemy team. And as for Kartus, it's like similar. Kartus, you low-key just want an AD mid laner with like a melee support, but even if you have like, let's say, a range support, the scaling of this champ is still super good, and you will still be useful, you know? Even if you die, you can still win a team fight, because you have your passive and you can one-shot people, right? But basically, I consider these champs pretty strong. And as for Wukong, honestly, I would put this champ on S tier as well. I think this champ is very underrated. Actually, I'm not sure if it's underrated. I think people should know this champ is strong. But I would pick this champion in the right situations as well. So, let us say in the right situations. But and why Wukong is strong? Because in lower elo, let's say you have like a Lulu, okay? On your support. Oops. Whatever. You get my point. This is like Wukong. But let's say that you have like a Lulu, okay, on support. It's like fine. Because at least Wukong can face check and fight. And if Nautilus, even better, right? So Wukong fits in more drafts. But the problem with Wukong is that the clear is a bit slow. And if enemy jungle picks a jungler that has high tempo, and they can, let's say, kite you, your Wukong is gonna be kind of shit. Whereas most of these other champs, I feel like it's gonna be not as bad, you know? Like, it doesn't have as many bad matchups. That's what I'm trying to say. Wukong has like some bad jungle matchups, which is why I would put him like A+. But in general, it's like, I'll put him in S, but in general, because the clear is not as fast, and it can't gank / fight as well as like Elise, I put it on A+. But still a very good champion. And as for Zac, I mean, Zac, honestly, this champ is probably the strongest tank. I could be wrong, but this champion, if you just full clear, you're just very strong, you know? This is like a very good champion. Lilia, I would put Lilia same category as like Loki, Elite, like Karthus, right, in a way, where if you have, let's say, Lilia, you build automatically a bit of HP. If you build automatically a bit of HP, you are a bit tanky and you can be Loki the front line, and if you flash, you can actually engage. So you're not reliant on melee support, you can play with range as well, which is why usually I like Brand / Lilia, even if I have enchanters, because you're low-key tanky and you have good scaling, you know? So usually it fits in every draft, but I don't think it's as OP as Karthus. That's how I would like see Lilia. And Kindred, I mean, Kindred, I've learned that this champion actually is super good, but you should not get counterpicked. Let's say enemy can pick Skarner or Wukong or range champions against you. It's not that enjoyable, right? But if, let's say, enemy picks a Jarvan, enemy picks, let's say, I don't know, Vi, and pick Kindred, this champ is even S tier as well. I'm fairly certain. I did, you know, the the Kindred account, right? And basically I just OTP'd Kindred, and I played a lot of different drafts, and I noticed that if you pick later, this champ is super good. If you pick early and it pick champs like Wukong, not that enjoyable, you know? But yeah, in right situations, a lot of champs from A+ can become S tier. And S tier can become A+ in like bad situations. But S tier champs are more often good than A tier champions. And I mean, yeah, Amumu, sorry, I was gonna talk about Graves as well. I mean, Graves got a little bit of nerf, but I don't think it matters. In low elo, like I said, people in general don't actually play many tanks. So Graves gets a benefit. So let's say Graves is playing as full squishy, okay? And let's say top laners are not picking tanks either, which they don't like. People like to play carries, right? Then, okay, if people pick Cassante, that's probably the worst champ for Graves. But if they pick like Yone, Ambessa, like Aatrox, right, Darius, Jax, just in general, squishier champions, Graves is completely fine. Champs that run into you, right? But understanding draft is very important. And I'm explaining a little bit of draft. But in low elo, I think you can get away with Graves. But in high elo, if you sometimes just pick it, an enemy has like tanks / range, yeah, this champ becomes A tier, right? Which I put on A+. I don't consider it like the best blind. As for Amumu, I think this champ is super strong if you have a draft like a Karthus draft. So I'll show you the Karthus draft. So let's say here you have like a Zed, right? And you have like an Amumu here. And I don't know, you have like whatever, Necton. It's very hard for the enemy team to go cleanse / mercs, and Amumu deals enough damage and has enough CC to like one-shot people in one combo, right? With like your teammates hold up. So in the right situations, this champ is definitely actually very strong. For sure underrated, but the downside of this champion is that the clear is like fine. The 1v1 is kind of dog shit, but you're very good team fight. I would say Amumu is like the AP version of Wukong. Legit. Amumu is legit the AP version of Wukong. Low-key slow clear, good scaling team fights. But in general, if you like don't go for random ganks, you're pretty good on this champion. Bel'Veth, I mean A+ if you know how to play this champion. In general, if you get head on this champion, it's like pretty OP, honestly. If I play against Bel'Veth, he's ahead, it's like so not playable. but you need to be a low-key in OTP because you need to understand your limits and know how to skirmish. And ideally, he wants a melee support that can set up for him. Brand, why do I put Brand A+? I think this champ isn't being played as much as it is, but Brand, ironically, is so good against most of these champions. The scaling super insane. Leandri wasn't nerfed, Riley wasn't nerfed. This champ is still very, very strong, especially if people pick 3 melee champs. And if you think about it, right, look at these top lane champs. All of them are melee, right? Even on jungle, most of them are like low-key melee. And support, even if people play enchanters, Brand is still happy, right? So Brand is very good against close range champions, and as long as he doesn't get outranged or something, this champ is probably one of the most OP teamfight champions. Brand is for sure balanced. I consider Brand like Wukong and Mumu, in a way. But yeah. I think Gwen is very strong as well, but this champion needs to kind of AFK, get items, and this champ becomes very strong. But if you don't really... If you fall behind this champ, it kind of sucks, but if you AFK farm and just play for team fights and take the right fights, against certain team comps, Gwen is so OP. But it has to be picked in the right situations, otherwise it's like sometimes dog shit. And Ivern, well, this champ is just solid. This is broken as well. But the thing with this champ is that you need humans in your teams, and if you don't have humans in your teams, you might feel really useless and an NPC, especially if you have an enchanter. With Ivern, you almost always don't want a Janna. Let's say this is an Ivern, okay? If there's anyone that means Ivern. If you have like an Ivern, you really want like a knowledge or something that can like frontline for you. Actually, how the fuck does shit work? Anyway, you guys get the idea. If you have like a knowledge or Leona as your support, is good. If you have enchanter, yikes, not good. So, well, Mundo. Well, Mundo as well, same thing. With Mundo, it's like this champ is super good if you play against champions like Jin, Syndra, just champions that don't have that much damage. But if let's say enemy has like Jinx and if like some DPS in middle like Victor or Azir, you don't want to pick Mundo. But currently in the meta, a lot of people are playing low damage AD carries. Let's say people play Samira, right? You're like having a time of your life. Because if it can't burst you, you're just 1v9, So drop dependent. And as for Shaco, I mean, I've been playing a lot of Shacos lately. I think people go like Eclipse into tank. I think this champ is more useful if you go full lethality. If you don't play super clean, this champ becomes an NPC. So I do think this champ is actually not bad. I had always like A tier, but I think it's actually not bad. Especially considering that it's pretty decent against most of the champions. And people die to Shaco, they just can't play against Shaco, Oh, and just saying, Zyra is A+ in higher elos. In low elo output like A or B. Main reason why is because in high elo, people can play slow, people can use tempo. In low elo, people fuck up tempo, they're not first on objectives. So I would not recommend this champion, and I'll mention as well which other champs are not as good for low elo compared to high elo. Udyr, I think this champ is strong, even though they nerfed the ultimate. The champ is still very balanced. And even if you have Enchanter, Udyr fits pretty good with like an Enchanter. So it fits the more team comp, so I put it on A+. And if you play, let's say, Viego or like Wukong, like Udyr is super good against these champions, right? So Udyr automatically becomes A+, because people are playing more Wukong and Viego, right? And Morgana, I think Morgana is like as well actually really underrated. I think this champ is very strong because if enemy has like a melee support and you just like QW kite back and you have like let's say Jinx, you just win the game. You land one Q, it's for 3 second cooldown, 3 second CC. This champ you don't see it as often, but in Challenger I've seen quite a lot. But I think this champ is good, no doubt. It provides good disengage, and especially if enemy team has no range, Morgana is super OP. And that's it for the A+ tier, right? Just explain a bit about the draft, how it works, and when it's good. Let's talk about the A tier champs. So Olaf actually is a champ that is a bit underrated. I think this champ actually is not bad at all. Especially in some drafts where, I can't tell you right now, but some drafts where you just know it's a good Olaf game, And It's pretty decent against most of these champs too, but I haven't seen it or played it enough to know. But then I played it once, it actually felt pretty decent. As for Rengar, oh hold on, actually I should finish like nah, she's fine. I'll just finish this for now. But like as for Rengar, I think this champ is pretty strong, but I think it's like an OTP champion. It's like either you're very good on this champ or you're fucking dog shit. And if you're average, you might as well play Amumu. So I do think this champ is strong, but at the same time, I think not everyone should play this. I think lower elo, just stay away from this champion. If you're in high elo, you have like good fundamentals, good understanding of limits, you can play this champion. But otherwise, I would say don't. As for Warwick, honestly, I played the one game Warwick. Fuck it, I don't have to show. But I think Warwick felt pretty strong. But I do think there's like one downside to Warwick is that in team fights, you can die quite fast. But that's like me playing Warwick first time for like a very long time. But the champ did not feel weak. I could see myself getting Challenger on this champion if I actually know how to play the champion. But in some drafts, it's like not easy to play, you know? But I still put on A tier because maybe my brain just can't comprehend that Warwick's like A+. But if I look at the A+ champions, I would say that Warwick won't have a good time against most of these champions in team fights. I think he's very good at making picks, very good at picking people off right, surprising people with like, you know, when he's like almost dead and then like he's just like, you know, 1v1s you. But I still think the other champs are better. Maybe I think Warwick could be better than Vi, but to be determined. I don't have enough data yet. The win rate does show that this champion is, well, insanely high win rate. If you look at the win rate, it's like the highest right now. And a decent amount of games. So that's surprising, right? So maybe I'm underestimating it. But on paper, when I see other champions, they just look stronger. And as for, where was I? Poppy. I mean, Poppy is just situational, right? Poppy is more good against champions that are basically running into you, like a lot of dashes. So let's say you play against a Wukong, you play against like a Vi, right, Xin Zhao, and you want to disengage and play front to back. This champ is like A+ or S, but in general, it's like an A tier. It's not like insane, but it's very good to counter champions. Same for Jax. I feel like Jax is gonna have a hard time in team fights. But if he's playing, let's say Xin Zhao, this is the matchup, right? Then Jax is pretty good. So it's very situational. I don't think you want to pick Jax in every single situation. Against a Brand, unplayable. Zyra, unplayable. Lilia, very hard as well. It's just matchup dependent. That's why I put it A tier, because the blindness champ isn't as good. It's like very situational. If enemy team is like 3 on hit champions, like Yasuo, Xin Zhao, and like an AD carry, this champ can become like an A+ or S tier, right? But in general, not that OP. And Xin Zhao is definitely A+. But actually, I didn't talk about Xin Zhao yet, did I? Xin Zhao is just very strong, solid, OP champ in fights. Pretty brain dead. And as for Volibear, I was thinking I want to put Volibear A+, but the thing is that this champ is like low-key an NPC champion. It falls off. It's very strong early, but you can make few mistakes and you can feel very useless. But if you play super clean, of course, it's like A+, but not everyone plays it super clean, so I put it on A tier. And as for Needly, just saying, guys, if you ever look in Needly and you have like a Janna in your team, yeah, don't. Unless you have like full poke comp, they have no engage, sure, it's not bad, right? Let's say you have like a Hui mid lane. Let's say they reverse, okay? Sure. And let's say they have like, let's say they have Yumi, whatever. And they don't have engage. Sure, Nearly can be good. But in general, without the melee support, if you don't outrange, this champ isn't good unless you're just better than enemy team, you know? That's why I put it A tier, because it is very situational. You need to know how to draft on this champion. If you don't, it is cooked. And as for Nocturne, I was thinking about Nocturne whether I should put it A+ or A, but I feel like this champ is just limited. When I say limited, it's like solo queue, there's 1 kill per minute, but what's happening is that Noxian has to farm AFK and then wait till 6, and you might miss out opportunities. Of course, people will die maybe to your Noxian ult, but if you miss your one-time Noxian ult and don't get a kill, it might feel really bad, because in team fights, you're not going to be SOP. It's like, I feel like on other champs, you can do more, you know? That's why I put it A tier. And as for Diana White's A tier, I mean, Diana's good against immobile champions, but it's not good against tanks. And most jungle matchups aren't winning for Diana. So I feel like this champ can be good if you can pick people off, but otherwise it's not so good. And as for Lee Sin, you just need to be good on this champion. If you're not good on this champion, yeah, not it, right? Like, I know a lot of people love playing Lee Sin, but I do think that this champ is just not it for like low elo people, you know? It's like the only negative win rate. You can even go to platinum. Let's check games. Negative win rate. Like, I would not recommend this champion if you're like in low elo, you know? You need good fundamentals, good decision making, and then it can be A plus for sure, no doubt, but just low elo is just not it, you know? But this champ just feels a bit weak at the moment. And as for Kha'Zix, I mean, Kha'Zix is just bad against champs like just heavy tanks, right? If you play Kha'Zix against, let's say, a Malphite, not enjoyable. But if you're playing against a full squishy team comp and they can't really reveal you, I think this champ is actually very good. But it's just that in drafts, this champ can be quite handicapped. And Kha'Zix is more like a pick champ than a teamfight champ. So you need to know how to play very well around tempo. So you can't really afford to make too many mistakes because your availability on this champ's already bad. That's why I put on an A tier. But if you know how to play him, it's like for sure like A plus, you know. But for most people, you not the good. But I would say it's still a very good champion, right? If you're like in Kha'Zix main, you have jungle fundamentals, I think it's not bad. And as for Kayn is like, it's like a fine champion. Kayn is like, if you snowball, get your form nice. You don't, you feel like an NPC, you know? It's just whatever, this champion. But it's fine, you know? Because you can get your form, you can get some little free kills. But it doesn't do that much. As for Jarvan, okay, so Jarvan used to be, I think, really good. But right now, people are playing like Wukong, Kindred, Zac, Xin Zhao, like so many champs just, if you're not playing against two immobile carries, your champ is just useless. Because against most champs, you just get countered 1v1 and in team fights. If they play properly, right? But in the right situations, against two immobile targets, it's very good. And as for Talia actually, I could even consider her A+. If enemy team has like, let's say, dashes, right? Let's say enemy team has like a Xin Zhao, they have like Wukong. I would definitely rate Talia A+. But if they don't have dashes, it's just A tier. But if there's some dashes, you have engaged support, definitely A+. But you don't want to pick Talia in the cases where enemy team has like, you know, no dashes and you just have Talia. You might as well just pick Elise, Lilia, Brand. I think these champs are the stronger, and I'm saying that as a Talia main. But yeah. Briar, I mean, I feel like putting in beef would feel a bit off. I feel like this champ is like not necessarily that bad. Because I remember in the past when this champ was being released and some people play this champ, it actually didn't look bad. But I think people just don't know how to play this champion and have bad fundamentals. So it looks like omega boosted. But I could see if someone actually masters this champion, has good fundamentals, this champ's A tier. As for Rek'Sai, it's an NPC champion. I think other champs are just better. But it's a fine champion to bridge to get your laners through early game. And as for Shyvana, I would say Shyvana is like, the champ got nerfed, I think, twice. I think the champ is still fine. But it's like I would say Kayn and Shyvana are like similar. They're both like so useless, and they're kind of useful if they get like a lead. But I would say other champs can do the same without getting a lead already, you know? And as for Master Yo-Yo, I mean, I think Master Yi is just like a fine champ. It's just hard to play if you play against like champ like Rel. if you play champ against the least, this champ has a lot of counters. But in the right situations, A+, but you can't just blind pick this champion. You play against Leo and Arel, you're like FF, you know? But if enemy teams like enchanters, nothing that can stop you, bro, it's like pretty strong, you know? But usually you play against those champions, so it might be hard. So very draft dependent. So every single champ, you need to understand a bit when these champs are good. As for Nunu, it's just a solo queue cheese champ, but it's not bad though. If you know how to play Nunu, I wouldn't say it's B tier because people get caught off guard. But it's not bad. As for Rammus, I think Rammus, if you play against 3 on-hit champions, I think this champ is very good. But I would say that it's not recommended to play because it's just so slow and clear. It's just an NPC champ. You this is like a Wukong, but like slower and weaker. You literally are like the tank Wukong. You're just there to breathe and create space. But I would say this champ is good if you're playing against 2 to 3 on-hit champions, but it's very situational, right? As for Maoka, I think this champ is good, especially if you're playing against squishies, and if you press ult and enemy team just gets one shot, you know? Because in some draws of enemy team, if let's say they have like a draft like this, right? Who's gonna tank the Maoka ult? They will just die. So in those drops, I would say Maoka is super good. But let's say they have a Sejuani or something, it's like still fine, you know? Maoka can have very good objective control. And as for Nico, I put it A tier because people just suck against Nico. They just get caught the mini wave, lose the Drake, lose the game. It is a pretty solid champion though. And I would say this champ is definitely A tier. And well, as for the B tiers, this champ is just so much weaker compared, especially since durability patch. This champ is like fine, but it's like you need the stars to align. You need to have like a Yo in mid lane or Zed, like not an enchanter. Laners are self. That's like they're like fine, you know what I mean? And Gragas is like, yeah, it's a fine champ as well, but other champs are just better, right? Gragas could be good if you want to just play front and back and disengage. I think Gragas could even be A tier, right? I think this champ isn't even that bad, but the clear feels so much off compared to other champs as well. And as for Sejuani, it's just a tank. It just doesn't do that much. It's like you need stars to align, so you need like a Yon Renekton, and even then you might as well play a Brand or like Talia, you know? Or Elise. That just fights much better. And honestly, as for other champs, not much opinions. I think these champs are just kind of like meh. And as for C tier, it speaks for itself. It's not good. Okay, I put this as Omega Weasels, but I would put Teemo on A tier if he's playing against champs that are on hit. Against champs that are hitting a lot, A tier. Otherwise, I think this champ is just not it. But I'll put it A tier, I guess. Between A and B. But I'll put it in the Weasel tier. And that's basically what I think about these champs, right? And as you can see, everything is very draft dependent. You need to understand draft. If you don't, it's like you might not know when a champ is good or bad. And that's pretty much all about the tier list. And yeah, that's it.